Hey everybody, I'm Tom Vasel. Welcome to the Dice Tower. Today is July 18th, 2016, and this is live Q&A with Tom Vasel. It is 2 weeks, basically, before Gen Con. There is a ton of games that are showing up, and we're talking about and all sorts of exciting things. I've been working on reviews all day today, taking a break to do this, and jumping back into reviews as soon as we are done. Tonight I'll be recording with the Secret Cabal, our Gen Con preview show. That will be posted next week, and you'll also see some other stuff coming out the next week from video as previews for Gen Con. So there's those things to look forward to. I'm glad you're here with us today. If you have any questions, don't post them in YouTube comments yet anyway. There's a link in the description of the video that goes to a website called Q&A, Kiunei, and you can ask your questions there and or vote up other people's questions. That way I can answer the questions that the most people are interested in, so someone else asks a question, you can do it there. Remember, I don't answer every question. There's reasons for that. Just maybe I don't feel like answering a question. Maybe it's been one that's answered many times before. So I'm going to go over here to the Q&A area and check up on this, and I'll be answering questions there. Okay, so the first question is, what board game apps do you currently own? Well, I have Ticket to Ride for sure. My wife likes that one, so I have Ticket to Ride, and I believe I have everything for Ticket to Ride. I definitely have Ascension. I have, I know I got La Havre. Oh, not La Havre. Yeah, I did have La Havre, but I don't play that anymore. I have a Start Player, several Start Player apps. I have apps that go with games, but if you're talking about just a board game on the thing, I just don't play board games on my things as much as you might think that I would. I tend to play longer, more complex games. So I have a few other ones, but they're not coming to mind right now. All right, so let's see. What do I think of the Spiel des Jahres winner announcements today? Well, I was wrong for sure. I picked... what did I said Imhotep and Pandemic Legacy. I have to say that, I mean, like I said, I'm not upset about any of the winners. I would not have picked the Kennerspiel at all. I would have easily picked Pandemic Legacy or Time Stories over that, but it is what it is. It's not like it's a horrible game that was picked for the Spiel des Jahres. And it still was pretty impressive that those two were nominated anyway. For Codenames, wow. Are we surprised? I mean, with the popularity, just, again, continuing its sweep of almost every board game award. So that's pretty, you know, it's not surprising. I just thought Imhotep would be more what the judges would pick. Again, since they did that sort of thing with the other one. So it's kind of, to me, it's weird that they picked Codenames, and then they picked the Euro game for the Kennerspiel. It seemed like they would have, if they were going to pick Codenames, then they would also pick Pandemic Legacy. But whatever. I can't read into the mind of the judges. Either way, I'm not upset about it. They're all fine games. So, what is my most productive time of day? Are you a morning person or a night owl? Most definitely morning. It usually takes me about 30 minutes to fully wake up. I usually wake up at 6 on the dot. Kind of wake up, doing some email, and just kind of coming in, doing some work there in that regard, drinking my morning cup of tea, and eating breakfast usually. And hopefully by the time 7 rolls around, I'm already starting reviews. That's usually my goal. Now, there is some family stuff that happens in mornings between 7 and 9, and that's interspersed with work. At 9, whoever's coming to work that day, the guys will show up. But usually my goal is, if I'm reviewing, to get 2 or 3 reviews done before anyone comes in. That doesn't always happen. But I'm definitely more productive in the morning than I am at night. All right, let's see. Am I playing Pokemon Go? I am not. Not because I don't want to. I just haven't got around to it, and I don't need another game to be addicted to. My daughter Amy is playing it, and I bet Melody will play it when she gets back from overseas, which will be Wednesday. I saw recently that there was a guy on BGG who was scamming publishers by sending them emails where he states someone broke into his car and stole his games and asking for a replacement. Thoughts? Well, I mean, that's a pretty bad thing to do. I think my thoughts would be this, though. Please don't give up on the goodness of gamers at all. Things like this tend to ruin it for everybody else, right? I always say there's that one person who ruins it for everybody. And that's true, right? Let's say someone broke in your car and stole games. Well, now you know you probably can't email a publisher because they would be like, are you kidding me? Or they might ask for proof, and you're like, oh, man. So, but that's just the way things go. It's very unfortunate, but it does appear to be a pretty blatant extortion thing, which was a very unfortunate, and it happened. So, there's that. I'll be in Orlando this week. Which cool stuff incorporated location should I visit? I don't think it really matters that much, but there's a new one in Kissimmee. That would be the one that I would check out because it's twice as big as the other ones. It's also brand new. Do I own a jester's hat? Do I own a jester's hat? I don't think so. I don't think I own a jester's hat. So, is the sound a little bit low for people? Because I can turn the sound up if you'd like. But anyhow, I don't think I have one. I might have one downstairs. I'm not sure. Roughly speaking, what percentage of your collection of games are designed for the children family market? Well, I think those are actually two different markets. So children's, I would say 10-15% maybe. And family market, a much larger percentage than that because I like family games myself. What game are you looking forward to previewing the most at Gen Con? Well, we're making a top 10 list about that, so I'll save that for then. Am I still planning on playing Food Chain Magnate? Yes. Will you be doing the top 10 kangaroos and turkeys with Sam and Z? I think we've done one of those already. Was the pandemic game with Colin Baker recorded and will we get to see it? Yes. No. Wow, I'm really blowing through these questions. From Vasel's Law, we can... Sound is fine. Turn the sound up. All right, I'll turn it up a slight bit, guys, but I don't want to go through the roof with the sound. That's about the highest that I would put the sound at this point in time. But anyhow, from Vasel's Laws, we can derive that bad games go extinct simply by being bad. What do you do then with people who say that a gamer should play certain inferior games at least once just for the experience? I totally ignore those people. You don't need to play any game just for the experience. You actually see a review where I disagree with Jason on that coming up on one of those particular games tomorrow. I don't think the game is bad. I just hate it. Twilight Imperium 3 or Exodus Proxima Centauri plus expansion depends on the time frame, honestly. If I have a long time, I'd rather play Twilight. I seem to recall that you used to talk about the games you got rid of to make room for new games and we can review. Why have you stopped doing that? I don't know. Mostly because I would have to keep track of it. When I do a week in review, it's pretty easy. What reviews have I done this week? They're like, what games did I get rid of again? And so... And people read way too much into it. I've stopped doing it. It drives me nuts. If I get rid of a good game, like I just added a game in my collection and just got rid of a very good game to make room for this even better game. And people are like, but I thought you said that game was great. Well, I did. I just have only so much room. What games would you recommend for gateway gamers to get who want to advance to more mid-weight games? That is a top 10 list that we'll be doing eventually. How good is Ninja Dice at scratching the King of Tokyo itch? Yeah, I think you have to explain that better because I think King of Tokyo scratches the King of Tokyo itch itself. If you're saying, if you already have King of Tokyo and do you want to get Ninja Dice? I guess, but they're not really similar that much at all. Ninja Dice is no, they don't feel the same. If you're just tuning in for the first time, don't forget my questions are not going to be answered on the YouTube comments for now. I'm doing it through Q&A, which is a link in the description of the video. And welcome. It's a fantastic day. Z did a review on Dash from Singapore. Do you have games from any countries that usually don't produce games in your collection? Probably. I don't know off the top of my head what. Let's see here. Whew. some of these questions need more votes. Not instead of asking questions, some of you need to go vote up some questions you think are good. Chaz's most recent metagame about convention survival advocated throwing fashion sense out of the window for the practicality of fanny packs, cargo shorts, and other noob gear. How many of the Dice Tower crew subscribe to this convention philosophy? I don't know. That's interesting. That's an interesting topic. I didn't actually watch his thing about that. I think everybody can wear what they want to some degree. And so if you like wearing fanny packs, I personally would never wear one ever. I think they look dorky and dumb, but that's just me. And I don't really have a lot of room to talk because a lot of things I wear, most people consider to be dorky and dumb. It's just that many years ago, I came to the realization that I did not care one whit what other people thought about the things I wore. But at the same time, I didn't want to look like a slob. I didn't want to be displeasing. You might think what I wear is weird, but hopefully my pants are pulled up and my shirt is straight. And that doesn't always work, right? Sometimes that stuff messes up. But for the most part, there's that. And I don't want to wear offensive t-shirts of people and things. But if I want to wear a bright, funny, weird hat, I'm going to. If I want to wear my ties and my socks, I'm going to. So I wear what I want to a convention. Now, I mean, if you think that cargo shorts and fanny packs is the way to go at a convention, that's fine. I personally prefer, if in that situation, I'd rather have a backpack that has everything I can carry easily in it. But everyone's different. I don't like cargo shorts. I don't wear them. I don't like fanny packs. So the other Dice Tower guys can pretty much do what they want. I do have Dice Tower shirts that we wear, but even those, I let them pick their shirt and then I put the logo on it. If we were transmorgified into dexterity games, what would we each be? That's a weird question. Would you do a top 4X games? That might come someday. Would you say you're a type A personality, take charge, lead the group, etc., or is that just your capacity in the Dice Tower? That's an interesting question. It's one that I have thought about before. I certainly do like to take charge. At the same time, I'm always plagued by this fear. I don't want everyone to think that I just assume I'm in charge. So I'm like, is someone else in charge? When it comes to church settings, I really like when someone else takes charge and I say, what do you want me to do? Give me a smaller thing and I will take charge of that thing all get out. But if I got to stand up and take charge of the whole thing, I will. And so in a lot of settings, I will take charge of them. Yeah, there's that pride sometimes of well, somebody's got to run this thing. I'm going to do it. So I have to be careful on that, right? I'm always kind of battling that because I don't want to be full of pride and say, well, so I am the only one who can run this thing. But I do like running things. I do like being in charge. So even when I was in college and there was a group of guys together, I would say, hey, let's go do this. And I would kind of pick the things we would do. I didn't mean to be bossy or anything. It just kind of turned out that way. So I guess I am a type A personality. What are my thoughts on Civ 6? I honestly don't know anything about it other than that it was announced and that it was hexagons again, which is kind of weird. I like squares better. Civ 5 was a fine game, and so was that new one they made, that space one, Civilization in the Future, whatever. Those are fine, but the alien one bugs me. Okay, and so do many of the civs. I don't like the barbarians in civs very much. If there's an option to turn off barbarians, I always do. I want to play against civilizations. And I know barbarians pop up, but in civ games, they seem to pop up way more than they ever actually has happened in history. And it's an annoyance. I like to turn those off and just go up against the other players. And in fact, in my current civilization game that I'm playing, I'm actually funneling money to one guy and giving him all sorts of techs and stuff so he's better than everyone else. I'm trying to help him conquer his neighbor. And then I'm going to have a full-fledged war with this guy. He doesn't know it. We're good friends. But I'm setting him up because I want a really powerful guy to go against. I'm going to see if I can pull it off. Anyway, back to Civ 6. I'm sure it'd be better in every way, in many senses. I'm hoping that it takes the things I like about Civ 5 and adds things I like from Civ 4 to it and makes the perfect game. But honestly, I don't know anything else other than that. And hopefully it will come out in a week. I don't have a lot of other things to do. How do you see Dicetown Con evolving next year since the attendance will double? Are we risking overcrowding, game shortages, etc.? Well, okay, well, we have a year to work on these things, to prepare for them. We kind of know, pinpointed what we think many of the problems will be. Game shortages will be one. Overcrowding, I don't think will be a problem because we have double the space. We were not even close to crowded this year. We are doubling. I think we are more than doubling the space, so that's not a big deal. At least it doesn't feel like it will be, and we can kind of fine-tune it for future years. For events, I have most of them figured out. There's a few events that I'm not sure, but I have ideas on how we can cater them to a bigger crowd. Game shortages, I mean, obviously you want to have a bigger, better library. That one's harder to do sometimes because some of the hot games we have managed to scrounge together one copy of. Maybe we'll do something. Again, I got to be really cautious whatever I say here on these live Q&As because I don't run the convention. Patrick does. I give him advice, and he talks to me and listens to me and such, but I don't want to make any announcements for him, especially if I don't know. You know, it's his call in the final thing. But I think we'll be fine. In light of recent violence that has occurred, are you more concerned this year about safety at Gen Con given the high concentration of people that will be there? I am not worried about it or concerned about it. I don't want to go too far off into the realm, but as I am a Christian, and I believe that God will take care of me, and if, you know, whatever may happen. But I lived in Korea for 10 years, South Korea. And if you know, South Korea is constantly under the threat of nuclear war. And I live in in Florida, which is very close to Cuba, where there was a threat in the past. There's always going to be threats. There's always going to be things going on, and I can't live my life in fear. Yes, Gen Con's a large convention going on, but there are dozens and hundreds of these large conventions going on all over the nation. None of them have been hit yet. I can't go to these things in fear, so I'm really not that worried about it. Besides, I don't think they would go after gamers, but it is what it is. Do you think Imperial Assault will get to the table more now with the new skirmish maps out from FFG? I haven't got those skirmish maps, so probably not. If someone flips the table after losing, but he is smiling good-naturedly while doing so, does it count as a genuine table flip? I'm going to say yes. Since receiving Pillars of the Earth, the novel, have you had a chance to read it? And if so, has it affected your thoughts on the board game? I haven't finished it, which is really weird because I'm a speed reader, right? And I'm like 2/3 done through it, maybe 3/4. And it's really an interesting book. My thoughts on Pillars of the Earth are, I think it's a fine book, but did it have to be so long? I really feel like the whole book could have been written in half the space. I mean, I know he wants to really drag out these details, and there's all this medieval stuff, and that's interesting and all, but I really think it could have been condensed somewhat. It doesn't make me, again, I don't want to live during that time frame period. Man, it just sounds awful, that book. And most of the people in the book are just awful people. And there's a lot of things in the book I wish he had just said, this happened, as opposed to describing it in detail. It's like, well, it's not as bad as Game of Thrones, but it strives for that, I guess. I know it was written first. Has it affected my enjoyment of the game? Well, now I know who the characters are in the game, so when they show up, like, oh, that's who that is. But other than that, I think that wouldn't affect. I still like the game a lot. Let's see here. Do you still play Blood Rage? Yes. My brother and I are building our own gaming table. Any suggestions? Comfortable dimensions? Well, I mean, do what you want to do. I mean, my suggestions are make the table, sit down, and figure out exactly where you want the table to be. This table is the perfect height. This is exactly where I like it. I don't want it any higher or any lower. This is perfect for me. And then maybe get some of your games you play a lot and put them on the table and make sure they fit. What is the wood box besides Splendor to your left? You guys can see this box way over here? That is Carcassonne, the city, in the wooden box. It now comes in a cardboard box, but mine came in a wooden box. How many bananas can you eat in a sitting? I guess I could fight my way through one. I don't dislike bananas, but I don't like them either. I just don't care that much about them. The theme song for Party Gamecast is ridiculously catchy. Are there any Dice Tower podcast themes or Board Game Breakfast segment themes that get stuck in your head? Sometimes. Maybe Z Garcia, voice of the people. It all depends. I see that one person is getting all their questions upvoted over other people. Darth Grader, I appreciate your questions, but I think some other people should ask questions too, right? Do you think it's possible to play a long game like Sid Meier's Civ or Captains of Industry? Really? Over a series of lunch hours? Is it something to propose? Maybe. But just to set up and take down each time. Now, if you could leave it somewhere set up, if you have that kind of situation, then sure, go for it. That I would do. That would be fun. But if it is something you have to set up and take down every time, forget that. Too much work. What are you most looking forward to? Pandemic Cthulhu or Pandemic Iberia? Well, I played Pandemic Cthulhu, so that's an unfair advantage. I know what it is, so I guess I'm looking forward to Iberia more. Had I known nothing about either one, I would have probably still said Iberia. Do you see a flood of legacy games coming? No, I don't, because they're just too hard to design. How much are you looking forward to Star Trek Ascendancy? A lot, actually. Again, I'm not answering every question in some of these because some of these questions I've gone into great depth about. And some just because they're just not that interesting. Let's see here. How is Nothing Personal doing? Lots of people buy it. Well, I think I would know that actually more than you, so it's doing okay. Okay. It's actually been out for a while. Any game that's been out this long as Nothing Personal has been out, they never sell that well. Most games, when they sell, the first 3 months are like 90% of its sales. Like, total ever. There are games that we call evergreens. These are games that continue to sell over a period of time, and there are sometimes a game that sells and just keeps going up. Usually they don't go up. They usually plateau, but maybe something else, some other effect, a newspaper article will make them go up again. But for the most part, after those first 3 months, you ain't selling many games after that, comparatively. That's really surprising to a lot of people, but that's just the way it is. As a Dice Tower follower, I would highly encourage and hope you keep the live streaming and recording of events, not one or the other. I apologize, and I appreciate that you watch, but that's the way it's going to be. We want to do it well, and I cannot do it well when I'm splitting my resources between live streaming and recording. So we have to do one or the other. I finally made that call. I don't see how that really affects the viewer that much because you can watch a live stream or you can watch it better. And as you can see with our top 10, we were able to do some nice editing with that when we recorded it. Live streaming is fine, but live streaming also takes away sometimes from the audience that's there. And I want to make sure the audience there is having a fantastic time. Let's see. You mentioned that live streaming at cons stresses you out because you worry about the quality. Origins ran great and you weren't there much since you were busy, so do you think maybe you can trust the rest of the crew to run them without me? Well, yes, and the crew does a great job at running the live streaming without me. However, at Origins, that's what we do. At Gamma, same thing, that's what we do. At Dice Tower Con, I got people doing a whole bunch of other tasks, so the people that I can have running live streaming is a much smaller group of people. And there's a lot of other things going on. We're running shows there where some of the people who might be running live streaming are not on. At Gamma and Origins, I have one person on camera at a time. And so it just was a lot easier for us to do it that way. Why not stream on Twitch? I'm not streaming on Twitch yet because I have not been convinced yet that Twitch is worth doing. The thing about Twitch is, the thing about anything I do is I have to enjoy it, and I hate others streaming on Twitch. I just don't find Twitch useful for me. I'm sure it's perfectly fine, but I like how YouTube does it for now. What's one of your favorite examples of how you add a theme to a game? I bring hats to Sheriff of Nottingham. I bring eye patches to Junta, the dice game version of it. If I can find some funny thing to bring to a game, I will. How do you get people to play multiple board games instead of just playing one game and quitting after that? Says John Jacob Jingle Harmon Schmidt. I don't. If they want to quit after one game, I'm okay. I just look for someone else to play a game. Why doesn't Fortune and Glory ever get mentioned? We love it and are surprised it doesn't ever get talked about. Well, frankly, I never played it. That's why it never gets mentioned. And enough people whose opinion I trust played it and disliked it and explained to me why they disliked it. One of the main reasons being it was incredibly long. I watched games in my game group taking 3, 4, 5 hours, and I heard that the gameplay was like an hour of that 3, 4, 5 hours. Now, I'm sure some people really do enjoy the game, and that's fine, but it's been out for a while. I never got a copy. I don't know that it's worth my time now to go out of the way to find a copy just to review it. So that's why. It's nothing really against the game. That's just what happened. And if you like it, that's fantastic. We just don't talk about it. Are there any games you've scrapped just for its parts? Occasionally I get a game that's horrific, but it has some couple pieces I like, and so yeah, I'll keep those pieces and scrap the game. But I can't think of what one off the top of my head. I have not played Yokohama yet, so I don't have any really comments on that. Massive Darkness sounds interesting. I'm certainly interested to try it out, but it's going to be a long time before I get it. My games fit nicely in the IKEA shelves behind me, says Todd. How do you get them to fit so perfectly? Trial and error? Some sort of algorithm? Lots of my cubbies have spaces not large enough to fit another game in. Well, it's mostly trial and error. I pull all the games off my shelves, put them in stacks. I put the same kind together. You see the square box here? And then I just move them around. So I just recently added a new one to the games behind me, and it was a little thicker than the rest of them. And so I had to do some rejiggering, move one to another location and such. But that's what I do. I just trial and error, basically. Have you had a chance to check out Magic the Gathering Arena of the Planeswalkers, Shadows of Innistrad yet? Ooh, maybe. So that review will be coming soon. But of all those games I just showed you, some of them are being reviewed this week, some next week, some the week of Gen Con. There's a lot of reviews I'm doing at one time as we plan out the reviews going ahead. I'm trying to get as many reviews done before Gen Con, before the swarm of games covers us and I cannot breathe. All right. Sorry about that. Had to put someone in timeout. All right. Thoughts on the others? Will you review it? I will review it. I know the theme is not my usual cup of tea. That's right. The theme is not my usual cup of tea, so that will be an interesting review, right? Who's my most hated designer? I don't think I hate any designer, okay? I'm sure they're all fantastic people. I think what you mean is which designer, if I see their name in a box, I'm most likely to dislike the game. That would probably be Leo Calavini. Again, though, he has made some games I really like, so it's not like even that's 100%. Do you feel that there are very few big or considerable awards for board games? Is there any other relevant awards beside the Spiel? I don't actually have any kind of numerical information on any other awards beside the Spiel. I know that the Spiel does really well. After the Spiel, in America for English games, okay, for English gamers, because there are a lot of awards all over the world. So I'm just, but I would say there are 3 awards that maybe vie for it. That would be the BGG Awards, the Dice Tower Awards, and the Origins Awards. I know that there are other awards that are out there. There's the IGA, the International Gaming Awards, but those have become a little bit less relevant as time goes by because they're very, very Eurogamish in their focus. And they ignore some pretty major releases sometimes because they have kind of a like-minded group of people there. Very group-thinkish that award is. And also just not a lot of people know about it. Origins has struggled, obviously, with picking some horrific picks in the past, but that one may come along to be a more of a major award. You know what? Scratch what I just said. And I was talking about Dice Tower Awards, BG Awards. I think they're both fine, but they just don't have the publicity that the other ones do. I'll go with maybe Mensa. Has a lot of pull behind it, and I don't like the way they pick their games at all. I think that they pick some poor picks occasionally, but I think that's probably the biggest award in America, maybe, or even just getting your like Dr. Toy or someone to look at your games. Do you accept board game reviews from people outside the Dice Tower network, or do they have to be part of the network to do a review for you? I am always interested in talking to people about doing reviews for the Dice Tower. You don't have to be part of the network. That's how you become part of the network to some degree. You and Sam both recently mentioned that the tabletop playthrough of Sheriff of Nottingham was butchered. How so? Okay, maybe butchered is a strong word. We were super excited when I heard it was going to be on tabletop. I was like, oh, this is great. Because I know that Wheaton and other people, they really love to play up the game, and they love the theme. And then when we watch it, we're just like, oh, man, because Will really got into it. But the other three guests were just not into the game. And that game is a game that just is so fascinating to watch, the deals and all kinds of cool things that can happen in that game, and a hilarious playthrough. I mean, watch one of our playthroughs of it. Watch Sam and Z. It's hilarious. And I really thought this would be a chance for that game to get a really good showcase, and it just didn't. It seemed okay, but the game did not seem as fascinating. And they had a chance to be really funny and stuff, and it just did not come across. No fault of Mr. Wheaton. He did a fine job. He really tried to get in the spirit, but the other three were just not there. That's why I was disappointed by that. Has nothing to do with tabletop itself. I'm not negative against tabletop. I think the guests on that particular show just weren't into that type of game that much. In the recent games these two jokers don't appreciate video, you mentioned your rating of TI3 was going to be going down soon. Is this due to just decreased interest, or is there another game that's come out and made it obsolete for you? No. Just I don't play it nearly as much as I used to. That's all. There's nothing that's replaced it. All right. Well, that's 2:30. I'm going to be ending this at 3. So now we will go to questions from the YouTube chat. And not ones that have been asked before, but if you ask questions on the YouTube thing, I'll try to answer some of those now. Again, I will skip a lot of them, but if you ask a question, I might answer some of those there. So fire away. If Fantasy Flight Games was to announce a games and a new IP at Gen Con, what in your wildest dreams would be the best IP to use? I don't know, Mad Max? I don't care. I don't sit around going, what IP? I just want good games. IPs don't mean as much to me. What's my top 10 Star Wars bounty hunters? I don't think I know enough to be able to do 10. My favorite was probably Dengar. Although the IG-88 story is fascinating, but Dengar is probably my favorite. Guys, there's a lot of games that people are asking me for thoughts on from Gen Con. Either I haven't played them yet, so I can't give it, or I've done a review for them, or I'm doing a review this week for them. That's one of the only 3 options that there is really at this point in time. So either wait for the review, or just assume I don't have any opinions on it because I haven't played them yet. Or listen to one of our previews where I give some made-up opinions on stuff. I mean this from love. That's usually the beginning of a statement that is not from love. Any thoughts on the size of today's gamers? Looking at pictures of conventions is a little disheartening. Well, I've been pretty happy with the size of gamers at conventions. They seem to be coming in smaller and smaller packages, which means conventions are getting more and more family friendly, and I think that's fantastic. It used to be that you had to be a certain height really to enjoy a convention, but that part is gone. Families of all sizes can come in now, and that's great. It's my birthday today. Is there a specific game you'd like to play on your birthday? Maybe I wouldn't play a game on my birthday. I don't know. Maybe a party game. What rides did you go on at Universal Studios? I went to not Islands of Adventure, which is disappointing because I heard they had the new Kong ride, and I could have ridden that. I've been really looking forward to that. I didn't realize it was there. My family went without me, but I'll go back. I'll get there. My favorite ride that I went on this time, well, I didn't ride the roller coaster because it was my turn to watch Jimmy at that point. So I'd say my favorite ride was Pharaoh's Fury, probably. I do like that one a lot. Yeah. Although it was fun to watch my little kids when we rode the ET ride. They'd never ridden that one before. And just watching, I love rides, but riding rides with kids as they see these wonderful, cool things for the first time is so neat. Really, really enjoy that. What? Where can we get Dice Tower hats other than a con? Well, they had these at Dice Tower Con. That was from Dice Tower Con who was selling these, not me. I don't have Dice Tower hats for sale. I might make them someday on the website, but hats have such a low profit margin. And I don't care about the profit margin because I'm not trying to make money, right? But from them. But I found in the past so few people want hats. It seems. I've offered in the past, hey, who would be interested in Dice Tower hats? So few people. Maybe I'll get them made sometime. I was talking today, too. I was at a custom place that makes custom stuff. I was talking to them about hats and pricing, so you never know. Let's see here. Would you say that most members of the Dice Tower are spikes, or is it a good mix of gamer types? Oh, there's definitely a good mix of gamer types. Not everyone is the same gamer type, that's for sure. What's the number of players you should play Formula D with? I'd play with 10 if I could, but I would make it keep moving. Just keep it moving, keep it moving. Do people ever send you random hats for you to wear? They do. That's probably my favorite thing to get in the mail. It's super fun, especially if the hat's a good hat. I've got some really weird ones, but I love good hats. Again, some of you are asking me, like, what do you think about this game? Remember, I've actually reviewed those games in which I tell you exactly what I think about it. Do you think a board game cafe in Miami would be successful? And would you go to one if it was built? Yes to the second part. I would go. One, I don't think it would be successful. Because Miami is really spread out. And so board game cafes do best in a place where you can walk to them. Because when you're that spread out, you're going to then need a big parking lot for people to come by. And maybe people drive by, but they work well in cities where people walk to them and go to them that way. So, hey, prove me wrong. I'm fine with that, and I'll gladly go to one. Well, it depends where in Miami it is, too. But South Miami. But I don't think it would do well. Did I see the new Star Wars trailers, Rogue One? Yes, I did see the new Rogue One trailer. That was pretty cool. Really cool, actually. I'm more excited about that movie than I was about Star Wars 7. And the Rebels Season 3 with the big return of a Legends character. Since I haven't watched Seasons 1 or 2 of Rebels, then no. Can you recommend any good sci-fi book series? See, I recently just switched to fantasy for a while. I've been reading a lot of fantasy books. So if you've never read the Honor Harrington series, I really recommend that a lot. What's the most common mistake every new designer makes? Most common mistake they make is they don't play test their game enough. Have you? I'm trying to find a good question here. Some of these top 10 amusement park rides. What's my favorite ride that I've ever ridden? I think my favorite ride. Well, I really like all the roller coasters. I like the stuff at Universal. I like the flume at Universal. I like pretty much everything at Universal there. The flume there is my favorite Universal Park ride, period. I also like the Spider-Man ride at Universal a lot. I mean, I know it's going to happen. The Transformers one's pretty much the same thing. Harry Potter, same thing. I just really like that style. I think those are a lot of fun for me. I like the Manta roller coaster at SeaWorld. Disney. I like roller coasters in general. They're really fun. So anything in that regard. There's some rides. There's an indoor roller coaster called the French Revolution at Lotte World in Seoul. Really enjoy that one. That was a really fun roller coaster. The Comet. If you ever heard the Comet's really neat. That's an inside roller coaster, similar to Space Mountain, except you can actually see. So that's pretty cool. I don't have top 10 though. Sorry. Am I going to review the new Rick and Morty card game that just came out? That's possible. Possible. Do you use your smartwatch to help at all with any games? I've not used my smartwatch at all for any games yet. That'd be interesting if they made one that did that with. Games that taught me a lesson in life? Huh, that's interesting. Do you like King of New York or King of Tokyo better? I like King of New York better, but I'll play King of Tokyo way more often because it's a lot easier to teach people too. On the top 10 hobbies, you said you like model railroading. Which scale is your favorite, N, H, O, or O? I would actually be happy with any scale. Smaller is probably more preferable. I actually don't know which of those scales is which off the top of my head. But the one that most people see at in model railroad setups and layouts, that's the one I like the best. The big ones are nice, but of course you need more room for them. Like I said, someday my goal is, once the kids are out of the house, I'm going to make a room that's just a model railroad setup. I think that'd be a fun side hobby to do. Is opening a friendly local gaming store still feasible with all the bigger chains going on? Especially in Europe, you see more and more web stores. I think it's much more difficult. I think it's feasible. You just have to have a good, solid business plan, and you need to be able to work with what's going on today. How are you going to deal with Kickstarter? How are you going to deal with internet? How are you going to deal with millennials and the folks that are a generation after them? How do you deal with all these people, and how are you going to make a profit? Have I ever considered shaving my head like Z or Sam? I have considered it not at all. I said that I don't really care what people think of me. I give one caveat to that. I do care what my wife thinks of me. She does not want me to shave my head, so I shall not. Let's see here. You get so many packages in the mail. Has your mailman asked you why you get so much? He doesn't, but the other day, UPS came by my house, and I was waiting for Jason to pick me up. Me, and Eric Lang were going out to eat somewhere, and because Eric Lang was in the area visiting Miami, so I was like, oh, sure, I'll go with you. So I was waiting for them. Jason said, I'm almost there. So I said, great. I said, I'll meet you at my front gate. And I started walking front gate, and the UPS guy came, and I was like, oh, great. So I ran back, got the package from the guy. Hooray! It was a small thing. I said, I'll bring it, open it in the car. So I was walking out of my complex, my housing place, and the UPS guy pulled over and said, I hate to bother you. He was super apologetic. He said, can I see your ID? And I said, oh, yeah, you're right. So I showed him my ID because it looked weird. I picked up the package, and then I walked away. I didn't even go back in the house. So I'm glad. I said, thanks for stopping me, because I would hate if someone had done that to me, just grabbed the package and ran off with it. But it looked weird. For the most part, though, a lot of people get a lot of packages these days. A lot of people have these things. I don't think they think much about it. I do try to tip the delivery guys, though, at Christmas time especially. Do fans bring their own games to conventions you guys go to, or just play the games companies bring and you bring, such as Dice Tower Con? It's a mix of both. Some people bring their own games. Some people play other people's games. To fill in on the Rebels question, they bring back a character from the Heir of the Empire book series. Well, I can figure out who that is, obviously, since there's only one character from that series who's technically not around anymore, or major character, and also I'd heard rumors about that in the past. That'd be cool. Thoughts and tickets to ride the card game? Ha! Well, again, I reviewed that, but this one is legit because it's been quite a long time. It hasn't held up, really. It's a memory style game. It's fine, but it has a name Ticket to Ride on it. If it had been called something else, it might have done a little better, but it just didn't do that well at all. It's totally out of print. What other franchise would you like to see in Dice Masters? That's interesting. I was talking to Eric Lang about this just the other day, and he said that he didn't think I could name a franchise that at least 10 people haven't emailed him and said they wanted it. And I tried. I tried to pick super obscure franchises, and I think I picked something, but I felt like I was cheating because I don't think anyone actually wanted one like that. Like, for example, I would say stuff like GoBots. And yes, at least 10 emails asking for that as Dice Masters. Man. So stop asking Eric Lang for more Dice Masters. He doesn't control that anyway. That's totally a WizKid's decision. For a former Magic the Gathering player, I love strategy games and really enjoy Seasons. What game would you recommend that plays similarly? Well, if you haven't played Dominion, that's a game I often recommend to Magic the Gathering players. Or Thunderstone. Well, that's out of print. So maybe some other deck builder like that. Is Twister a board game? I consider it a board game. Have you reviewed Leo? I have not. I don't know if I will or not. Did you ever hesitate to put your daughters in your videos, given that the internet can be mean, especially to females? Yes, I certainly think about that, which is, first of all, my daughters don't read the comments that much, so I'm okay there. Secondly, I will delete any comment that does anything even the slightest against my daughters with extreme prejudice. I will ban you from the channel instantly. I have no sympathy for that sort of garbage. I consider you to be a garbage human if you write negative comments against people in general. Is not a good thing to do, but against kids, young girls, boys, whatever, doesn't matter. You write stuff like that, you write negative sexist remarks, you are a piece of garbage. Stop it. And I will ban you from my channel in an instant. I have banned hundreds of people from the Dice Tower channel, not because they disagree with me. You can say my opinion's dumb. You can go find all kinds of comments on our videos saying how dumb our opinions are. That's fine. But the minute it's not even a 2-strike policy. It is 1 strike. You say something negative against one of my daughters, and this has happened, you're gone. You say something negative against one of my contributors in a trashy, derogatory, sexist, racist way, you're gone. There is no second chance in that regard. So don't do it. And so, yeah, I might worry a little bit about it, but I'm there with a stick, and I'm going to handle it. And if it got worse than that, if they got threatening emails, I would turn those over to the police in a second. If anything negative ever happens, I'm on top of this, because that sort of thing should not be tolerated. And I can't control the entire internet, but I can control part of my internet. And so call me mean, call me a dictator. I accept that in that regard. I don't know why I'm yelling at you guys, because I'm sure it's not y'all. I'm sorry, but that stuff gets me really irritated. I feel a bit like the SDG crew nominated Pandemic Legacy and Time Stories just to give the nod to innovation, and likely never felt they would win. That's possible. It's hard to figure out, again, what people think. Have you read the Black Tide series by John Ringo? It's quite good. I have not, but I do like John Ringo, so I probably will get around to it at some point. Let's see. You also mentioned the top 10 games these two jokers don't appreciate. The tabletop also messed up the Last Night on Earth session. Well, in that one, in particular, Felicia Day just took her character and ran around in circles and thought it was funny. And maybe it was funny if you're watching the video, but I'll tell you, if I was playing a game and someone did that, that's very frustrating. Not when someone is funny during a game, but when someone is like deliberately messing a game up and thinks it's funny. Again, I'm not trying to say this as a knock on tabletop at all. It's just that there are certain people who have played tabletop and like, yeah, I probably wouldn't want to play a game with them. What are my top 5 horror movies? Oh, I don't really like horror movies, so I've only seen a few. I like the original Night of the Living Dead. For some reason, I like that one. I like the others a lot. Apparently Sixth Sense is considered a horror movie, so I like that. The Ring is super scary. Poltergeist. I'm like naming every horror movie I've seen. Most horror movies I have not seen, so. Eh. Let's see. The Ticket to Ride card game has just come back into print. Huh. Well, again, it's not a bad game. I'm not going to not recommend it. It just realize it doesn't have a lot to do with Ticket to Ride, and it's all about memory mostly. Hey Tom, what is the best game with little to no theme that you have played? Plus sharks suck. I don't know why you would say that. Sharks are fine. I don't know why you would deride them in such ways. The rest of your question I get asked all the time, so I'll skip that. Have you ever played a horror-themed game that actually scared you? Not as a board game, but I played some horror-themed computer/video games that scared me. I think the Seventh Seal first scared the snot out of me. And, you know, I got some VR glasses things. Here, I'll show you what I got. When I bought those, when I bought the 360 angle degree camera for us to use at conventions, it came with these, and you put your phone in and then do this, and you can like look around and see things. It's pretty cool. You like stick a 360 degree video in here, and you can look around it, and it's pretty neat, right? It gives you this. And so I was like, oh, let's download some stuff. And so like there was this virtual reality game where you're like in a room and there's these dolls, and then they come to life and run around, and none of us have been able to watch the whole thing. One of my daughters just stared at one corner of the wall and wouldn't move at all, and she's like, okay, I win. I stare at the longest. But it was super freaky that way. So that's kind of, I thought it was pretty spooky. Because you do this, and then you put headphones on and listen to the sound and stuff. Oh, man. Yeah, forget that garbage. Don't smush cards. Do you ever find a second edition of a game loses the appeal of the first edition? No, I don't think I've ever seen that. The second edition is almost always better. I can't think of an opposite. Maybe someone can think of one, but it's likely just somebody who's usually just want like, oh, the first edition of this is better. I don't like these new editions. But very rarely do people consider the first edition to be better of something. Maybe something Hasbro's done, where their second edition is garbage. Will you watch the Olympics? I don't have TV, so unless I only have streaming. So if they put the Olympics online somewhere to watch them, then I will do so because I think that's a pretty cool thing. By the way, for all the people saying thank you, I really appreciate those. Are very nice words. Has there been any updates about the Marvel Legendary storage solution? I haven't heard anything. I'll ask him at Gen Con. Hopefully I remember that. Top 5 phones? That's, yeah, no. Top 5 favorite game designers? Nah, we've already done that one. If someone says best horror movie is The Thing or The Alien, I don't like those kind of, those movies just freak me out. I don't like a movie where you don't know where the bad guy is. I like monster movies where you see the monster and he's coming and you're trying to fight it and it keeps coming and it's like, get this monster, they're coming after me. Those I find interesting. But where you don't know where the monster is, I don't like that. What are scarier, clowns or dolls? Dolls. I never found clowns to be that scary. A clown doll maybe is scary. I always found, I don't find that dolls are scary, but just anytime in a movie that there's a doll that comes to life, that's to me the freakiest kind of thing ever. And I don't think it's very spoiler-ishy, but that was the freakiest moment, in my opinion, of the new Ghostbusters. The new Ghostbusters is not a scary movie. It's a comedy, right? But at one point, there's an animated mannequin type thing. And that is like for me, I was like, ooh. That's the one thing that I find kind of freaky type thing. I enjoyed that movie a lot, actually. A lot. Have you backed any other games since Plague Incorporated? I have not. I very rarely back games at all. I just love the Plague Incorporated computer game, and I just was such a like, ooh, that sounds fun. Let's see. Getting ready to move. Is there a good kind of box for games? I found that I just get the Home Depot boxes. They have moving boxes, and I found that they're medium-sized box. I can fit a lot of games into it. Sure, your games, you want to rubber band your games, if possible, to keep them from falling apart. I would invest in some good, those big giant rubber bands, and rubber band your games up to keep them so that they don't fall all over the place. But you can fit a lot of games in those boxes, and I say medium over the large ones because the large ones, when you film with games, are too heavy, as I was told when I moved last time. Do you feel Mage Wars Academy is releasing expansions too slowly? I do. Hopefully they release more soon. The promo card for Quadropolis will play. If you're talking about the promo from... Oh, by the way, the final promo for the final promo for Dice Tower Kickstarter is en route. Yay. It should land in the next couple days. Then Cool Stuff ships out my stuff for me. They will be shipping out their stuff to GenCon. They send up a file to GenCon. As soon as that stuff's sent, everything gets shipped out. All right? So, yay. I'm thinking playing Deception Murder in Hong Kong with Mysterium cards. Is that a bad idea? It seems like a bad idea. I don't know, but I would. It might be fun to try. All right. How many times do I play a game I like? A lot, I guess. What's my favorite fantasy monster? Does Godzilla count? Oh no, King Kong. I'm sorry, I really like King Kong. Unless you're talking about like from the fantasy worlds. My favorite monster is probably like D&D type stuff. I thought beholders were kind of freaky. They're interesting to me. Griffins are really cool. I always find the griffins a really neat concept. Storm giants, I think, are neat. Is there a new studio on your radar for 2017? No, okay, no, never mind. That's not. I wish we could see another expansion for Seasons, says somebody. Well, yes, I understand that, but you probably won't see one for now. The Seasons is probably finished at this point. I mean, I might be wrong, but I think it's a pretty good game. There's a lot of stuff in there. It offers a good amount of replayability. How often does Jason come over? Like once or twice a week. He actually came over twice last week. We got a lot of games played on Saturday. Did I watch the Spiel des Jahres awards live? No. I figured that just knowing who won was good enough. I didn't feel like waking up at 4 in the morning or whatever time it was to watch them. When you play Pillars of the Earth, do you play with the expansion board? I do. And that means I am pretty much caught up in questions. Now look, for some of you watching, some of you are like, what's your favorite game? What's the best game to play with 2 people? I apologize, I don't answer some of those questions because they're very basic questions in a sense. They're like questions I answer a lot and I want to answer them every time. But on our Dice Tower channel, if you watch us, you can search like best game for 2 players. And we've done a top 10 on that list. Or like, what do you think about this game? Well, we've probably done a review on that. So that would be much more useful to you. We can find all information. Here I'm just trying to talk about current events and current board gaming and things like that. And so that's usually the kind of questions here. I'm not trying to blow off your questions, and I appreciate that you're asking them. Just realize in these I don't answer all the questions that people ask. So how many games do you play in a game night? Usually 4 to 5, maybe 6 if I'm really pushing it. Depends how short the games are. My goal is usually 4 to 5. So that is unfortunately going to be the last question that I'm going to answer today, because just a lot of different things going on, and I'm going to get back to reviewing. Next game up to be reviewed, Swipe Out. Swipe Out! Anyhow, and then after that, well, I'm not going to be giving that away because there's a lot of things I need to do. Hey, it's 3 o'clock, reviews to be done, podcast editing, need to make sure the house is a little clean for when my wife comes back home in a couple days. So anyhow, folks, I appreciate, thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower, and until next time, I'm Tom Vasel. Maybe I can do the thing where I slowly disappear out of view again, right?